voting for PDP.
From every corner, pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. We and them applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we save ya. I hear my people balling out. Everybody suffering. We and them don't know what they're about. The people only crying. Them only playing. Can't believe in what they saying. Because it's evil things and what them doing. And have the people them a ball. And every day me hear pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. The PM them applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. Pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. You hear me? Me see them from a distance, how them say them want them country run. Filling the gas and oil, and them give Tobago none. But yet the youth said gun, we shoot them brother down. And if them continue, the youth them a go turn. What's up, sit up and them tune and him now watch the heathen them from far. Now call on him like that, me now go point you finger. You all know who you are, you all know who you are. What you fighting this war for? Pressure, the people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. Pressure, the people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. What's in you can say my we savior. I hear my people crying I hear my people dying, oh, everybody suffering.
Whoa, one love is the anthem.
Let's see your hand them. Let's see your hand them.
I have love for the whole wide world with you. You are the master key. If love is by my side, then who can deny me? I keep climbing higher, higher.
We going down the road, hands in the air. People everywhere, love and unity is there. It's that time of year where we don't care. Where you're from, put your flag in the air and represent. Just one love, just one love, just one love, just one love. And represent. Just one love, just one love, just one love, just one love.
My people, do you listen? Tell me, do you hear? What is your position for the people? Do you care? Yeah. Will you tell me that you represent? I really want to see some evidence. In freedom, this is evidence. So bring it from your soul.
One love is the one love is the
Cause this is carnival, where we come alive. Oh no, we never fight. We gonna dance all night. So just wave your flag, make it touch the sky. We never stop tonight.
this we must relate in your heart and soul.
One love is the anthem. One love is the anthem.
Cause this is carnival, where we come alive. Oh no, we not gonna fight. We gonna dance all night. So just wave your flag, make it touch the sky. We not gonna stop tonight. So let me see your hands.
Why my people suffer so bad? Oh, is it that should really be sad? Is it a misplaced melancholy? Why? Well, it's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? My people may talk. It's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? My God. Rise up, falling sufferers. Rise and take your stance again. He who fights and run away will live to fight another day. It's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? You people may talk. It's politics time again now. Are you gonna vote now? It's open the war. It's the right and it's the duty of a citizen to vote. I upon them constitution, long time indeed a joke. Fed up of promises and hopeless hope. Ballot box must be empty, vote house closed. No one arm, no one choose the color of their clothes now. But some just plain greedy. No matter how we teach, they'll forget easier. Look, it's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? This is love and not war. We all shall vote, yeah. If it's Rasta, then talking. Look here, bloodshed from Rima. Down in the valley, garden area. Question has become a gunman compound. No place for people with citizenship. Lord, they're crying relentlessly, yeah. People moving every minute, every hour. Gunshot falling like hell shower. Ooh, yeah. It's politics time again. Well, are you gonna vote now? Good people may talk. It's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? Ooh. And a little one, we want. And a little bridge, we preach. Still they bust up their big guns on the street, Lord. Killing people, oh, they really sick. Who is it that I'm is speaking? Who is it that is controlling the system? Three parties and I'm not dancing. Who is it? Who is she? No, who is the Mr. Him? Yeah, it's your campaign time again now. Ooh, yeah. Well, it's politics time again. The people are gonna cry now. Ooh, it's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? Hey, everything raise, but we won't live on fret. When the air that we breathe becomes thick with them, then we know Jah guide. We will never fret. Whenever you're ready, we're ready. No more spot check. Whether you're light, whether you're heavy, happy or respect, Lord, no war, no war. Yeah, well, it's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? Who is worthy? It's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? Poor people cry. It's the right of senior citizens to vote. By upon them constitution, long time indeed a joke. We are fed up with promises and hopeless hope. Ballot box must be empty, vote house closed. No one harm, no one choose the color of their clothes, y'all. Some just plain greedy. No matter how we teach, they'll forget easier. It's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? Ooh.
black and we broke. We're voting for PDP. This is a black hole. We're voting for PDP. PDP, black and pro. No weapon from against you. So higher than an eagle. 10,000 falling at your left, 10,000 at your right. Victory today. No weapon from against you. Jah protect our heroes. Look, haters falling on your left and haters on your right. Victory today. This is a black hole. PDP. We black and we broke. We voting for PDP. Vote out PNM. Pharaoh and his men, you won't see them tomorrow. No, this is a black hole. PDP. We black and we broke. We voting for PDP. Vote out PNM. Pharaoh and his men, you won't see them tomorrow. Black and proud the guy. Love with Tobago pride. What friend you can touch your Boris, don't ever give up this fight. With the few shit I galvanize, you bring tears up our people's eyes. Vote out Shamfa, vote out Iron, vote out the pain and blight. We pro PDP, this is a black hole. We voting for PDP, vote out PNM. Pharaoh and his men, you won't see them tomorrow. No. Just set you higher than them. 10,000 falling at your left, 10,000 at your right. Victory today. No weapon from against PDP. Just set you higher than the eagle. Haters scatter on your left, some scatter on your right. Victory today. This is a black when we touch the road. In with PDP t-shirt. Black, voting for Tashia Boris. Voting for what's in the oak. Black like charcoal. Black bamboo bully face smoke. Is this kaleidoscope? Tell them black is the code. We pro PDP. This is a black hole. We voting for PDP. Vote out PNM. Pharaoh and his men, you won't see them tomorrow. No. And we pro we voting for PDP. Vote out PNM. Pharaoh and his men, you won't see them tomorrow. No. PDP, total black hole. PDP, Charlottesville to PDP, black is beautiful. PDP, yes we black and PDP, total black hole. PDP, black is beautiful. PDP, we got black into PDP, Charlottesville to we voting for PDP.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Tasha Grace Boris, Progressive Democratic Patriots candidate for Tobago West, and I am here with you this morning at the Street 91.9 FM. We are broadcasting from the beautiful little, I should say, town of Crown Point in Tobago. We have some nice weather this morning. Thank you for tuning in from your homes, in your offices, in your cars. Thank you to those of you who are currently watching me on YouTube and on Facebook. And for those of you who have already joined my live, good morning to all of you. Good morning. It is Wednesday, 5th August 2020. It is essentially 5 days away from general election, August 10th, 2020. And this is actually going to be my second to last show with you guys. Today is Wake Up Wednesdays. And I must say that this journey has been absolutely phenomenal. I could not have anticipated the kind of response that I would have received on this platform, and I must continue to say thanks. Every day I come here, I say thank you to those of you who have just allowed me the opportunity to come into your spaces and to speak and to talk and to advocate and to explain and to have discussions and to put forward information and education in the atmosphere. Good morning to all of you. Good morning. I mean, the situation is that it's heating up. It's 5 days away. 5 days away from election 2020, and there most of you, I believe, have already made up your minds as to who you will be supporting, whether or not you'll be voting to begin with, and who you may be supporting already. And there's still 1 or 2 people, I believe, who are on the fence at this time and very much unsure as to whether or not they would be exercising their right. There are a couple of things that we need to wake up to Tobago this morning. Today is Wake Up Wednesdays. Yesterday was a very, very interesting experience on the radio with Talk Things Tuesdays. I kind of gave insight into one of the most profound experiences I went through in my life, which was when I got pregnant with my son, and that journey in motherhood and what that taught me. And certainly being able to speak about that experience was very cathartic for me, because I've been a very insanely private person for most of my life. And interestingly enough, it's only recently I've gotten to a place where I've become very much okay with sharing my story, because I realize that sometimes when you are called to do something, and when you're called to do something great, you have to do that without a spirit of fear, and that you have to know that regardless of whether or not you choose to share some part of you, that it is for a purpose, that somebody is listening, that somebody had to hear that message. And certainly yesterday, I believe that somebody had to hear what I had to say yesterday, because there were a number of people who reached out to me after. They said that yesterday really moved them emotionally. And I'm just doing God's work. At the end of the day, I am here to do God's work, so I'm not afraid. There were times in my life that I experienced fear, but in this and in everything that I do not have a spirit of fear. I have a spirit of hope. I have a spirit of victory. I have a spirit of triumph, because I know trials will come. We know that trials will come. And because we know that trials will come, then that should help us prepare for that day that we have to deal with those trials, so that we have to approach everything in life as a blessing. Everything is a blessing, good and bad. Everything is a blessing. Once you survive it, it's a blessing, because it either teaches you something or it gives you a beautiful experience that you have a good memory from. So that we have to start to look at life from different colored lenses as we go forward. Today is Wake Up Wednesdays. Last night I was in Golden Lane, and last night was what should I say? Last night was a very, very interesting experience for me, because Golden Lane, Lekito, is a place right now that has a lot of heavy negative connotation attached to that, those communities. I was on the platform last night, and I felt that the thing that I had to say, especially in that community, is the fact that we have to arrest whatever it is taking place in Golden Lane, Lekito. We have to wake up to the realization that we are losing our children, we are losing our youth, we are losing our young men. We need to wake up to that. And Golden Lane, Lekito, is one of those communities that is in danger of falling through the cracks when it comes to our young people. I had the privilege to walk through Seaview, and I'm going to rehash a little bit what I said on the platform during this time, because I don't know if people understand the reality of what we face. I was walking down the hill and I saw a kite frame, a huge kite frame. And I love kites. My father made kites for us as gifts as children, so that we didn't really get toys bought from the supermarket. My father grew up in the countryside in Palatavia, so he knew how to make kites. So every Christmas he would make kites for us. And I saw this huge kite frame on this little house kind of built into a bank. And when I saw the kite frame, it said something to me. Young men who make kites are usually young men who involved in good activity in the community. These are the young men who, they will make kites for a living, they would sell, they would make kites for the little children and give away, so that if you see a big kite, it's because it's a labor of love. If you see a big kite frame, it's a labor of love. Young men who love kites are young men who embrace their youth. They embrace that freedom that comes with holding on to this kite and seeing it soar in the air. You know, that is what kite flying is about. It's about patience, because sometimes you have to catch the wind at the right time. You know, your kite busts, so you had to run down in the bush to go and get your kite, or it end up stick up in a tree. You have to climb the tree. So any young man that I see with a kite, I know is a young man who knows about work. So when I saw the kite on the little house, and it was a little neatly constructed house up against a bank, I was interested to meet the person who occupied that house. And there was another young man who was on the outside. He was doing some work, and I interrupted him and I asked him, you know, if he was the person who lived in the house. And he said no, he said he was the landlord. I said, okay, well, I'm just in the area. My name is Tasha Grace Boris, PDP candidate for Tobago West. Is the person living in that house, are they around, so that I can speak to them? Because I wanted to find out about the kite. And he told me that the house belonged to one of the young men that was killed 2 weeks ago, that they found their bodies off the precipice. And immediately a spirit of heaviness overtook me. And then the landlord went on to indicate that as far as he knew, the young man was not involved in any untoward activity. You know, in the time that he occupied the space, he built that little house. You know, even though he was there on the land, he built that house. And, you know, the landlord was basically saying that he would move out all his personal items and give them to his mother, who didn't live too far away. And he would just lock up the house and leave it, maybe to rotten down. And you know, in my interaction with this man, I started thinking about the fact that another young life has been lost. Another young man with potentials, their life has been cut short. Tobago has lost another citizen that could have contributed to the progress of this island. And if I had to judge this young man based on this little house that he built, this neat little structure, and he was adding on to the house at the time because there was foundation that was being dug out and wire work was there, and there was an indication that he was going to do an extension. And he lived there alone. That was my understanding. So if I had to judge this young man based on what I saw of that little house that he built to live in, and the extension that he had intentions of putting on, and that kite frame on top of his roof, I'm saying to you, Tobago, we need to wake up to the fact that we are losing our young men, and we are losing our citizens that could add to our productivity. And that is a tragedy. That is a tragedy of epic proportions. Because we don't come back from death. That is it. Your life is over. Everything that you may have planned to do, you don't get to do. Everything that your parents would have planned for you, they don't get to see. Everything that, every hope and every dream and every vision that you had for yourself is cut short. And the manner in which we are losing our young people, because this is not a young man who was cut down by an illness, because illness is a part of life. We could understand that. This is not a young man who maybe, you know, died in an accident. You know, those things we can also kind of come to grips with and maybe understand. Doesn't make it any less tragic, but those things, we know they happen. But to lose this young man in the manner in which he was lost, whether it is he was involved in something and it caught up with him and people generally around him didn't know, or he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, this is a young man that we cannot get back. That the length and he has transitioned into memory. That is what is happening. Our young people are transitioning into memory. I got a message this morning that one of my supporters, a lady who grew up with my mother in Marys Hill, she lost her son. Good morning, Miss Duncan, and please accept my condolences on the death of your son. We are losing our young men, Tobago. We need to wake up to that. We are losing them in the prime of their lives. We are losing them. Right? That story about that young man, I mean, not knowing who the individual was, because I had no opportunity to interact with him during his lifetime. But I looked at that little house, and the surroundings were clean. It spoke to me about a young man with a mission. It spoke to me about a young man who was serious about elevating himself. It spoke to me about a young man who had dreams for himself, and he was willing to work hard to achieve these dreams. That is what that told me. And to find out that we have tragically lost that young man, that there is no coming back for that young man, that hurt me. So a spirit of sadness descended upon me as I left that little place, and I walked a little way down the road, and I got to the Pan Theatre that is run by a young man in the community, and I was able to sit and chat with him. And this young man is still alive, in contrast to the young man that I just described. And he's alive and doing work in his community. He's alive and standing in the gap for other young people of that community. That Pan Theatre, which was the dream of his father, that was passed on to his siblings and himself, that he's still there to this day, still providing an environment and an avenue for young persons in the community of Golden Lane to still have an opportunity. Those children, those young people, those older folks, they go there. That Pan Theatre is a center of activity in that community. Those young people call him uncle. They come to that theatre. They do their homework on an afternoon. They are taught the instrument. They are taught discipline. They are taught values. That Pan Theatre is a family. It is an institution in that community. And that institution needs support. And politicians have come and gone and have promised to support that institution, and nothing doing or little doing, only promises. And here we have a young man, in contrast to the young man that I just described, who is alive, who is working, who is well, who is committed to his community and cannot get the support of the powers that be. And this is how we lose our young people. This is how we lose our young people. When politicians go into communities, make promises, break promises, that is how we lose our young people. We need to wake up. If you are getting involved in service, in serving people, because politics is rum and old talk. That's what politics is. If you are heading towards Parliament or you're heading towards the Tobago House of Assembly, you need to understand the gravity of the role that you are trying to fill. For those persons out there who are aspiring to those offices, if you cannot serve people, stay out of that. Because the time for politics is over. The time for rum and old talk is over. We are losing our young people because we drinking rum and we all talking. We causing bacchanal and commerce, and we not minding with people business. We not waking up to the realities that we're facing, and it not taking $1 million or $1 billion to start to solve some of the problems in these communities. It not taking plenty. That young man told me that in order to make that Pan Theatre a little bit more comfortable and operational for the young people in that area, he's trying to put on a toilet. Do you think that a young man who is running a pan side, that is doing positive work in a community such as Golden Lane, with the reputation that this community has, that he's trying to stand in the gap for all persons there, that people across the spectrum respect him for the contributions that he's making, that he should be struggling to put on a toilet? I gave him my promise because I don't promise people nothing. I gave him my personal promise. This has nothing to do with me running for an election. This is me, Tasha Grace Boris. I gave him my personal promise that 1 year from the day that I met him, which was August 1st, Emancipation Day, 1 year from that day, we are going to be commissioning the Golden Lane Creative Arts Center, where that patent is. I told him to put his system in place, his infrastructure, his human resource infrastructure in place, his board of directors, his executive, set up the organization. But the physical infrastructure, I gave him my personal commitment to assist him with that. And for those of you who are listening to me this morning, who can contribute to this venture, I want you to reach out to me, because this is a project that the youths of Golden Lane and environs need in their community. This is a young man that Tobago should be rallying around. We shouldn't be waiting on no politician to put in doors and put in windows and help build a toilet. We should be rallying around this young man. And this is how we start building back our communities. When we recognize that the institutions that stand in the gap for young people need support, and the community rallies around these institutions to support them. This young man may want to have a family one day. This young man may want to pass the baton and give up this work that he's doing to somebody else who is just as committed as he is, but he cannot pass the baton just yet. His mission is not yet over. His mission is not yet complete. There are young people right now whose lives he is saving on a daily basis by simply unlocking the doors of that institution. That is what people are doing in communities. And when politicians come pontificating on platforms and talking about what they do and what they ain't do, and there is no evidence of nothing happening in communities, you have to run them, because all they're doing is talking politics. All they're doing is all talking. That is all they're doing. Look at the state of the roads in Golden Lane. If real development was taking place in Tobago, because when they go on a platform, you would swear here is paradise. You would swear everything is perfect in Tobago. I want you to listen to them, and I want Tobago to wake up, because they does never go on the platform and talk the things. They just talk about people, but they don't talk the things. They're talking about all kind of people, but they're not talking the things. Tobago, wake up and listen. Listen to the substance of what they say. If development was taking place, if true development was taking place, why is it that Tobago is now experiencing 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 murders per year? Isn't that an indication that something is happening at the level of the society that is breaking down? I remember living in a Tobago where there was 1 murder per year. And usually that 1 murder was 2 men come out from a bar drunk, and the 2 of them get away in a fight, and somebody bust somebody head with a bottle and they fall and hit the head. Or the off chance that there's some domestic dispute and somebody ends up dying. And those people are immediately arrested and justice is immediately served. 1 murder per year is what Tobago was used to. One solitary murder. Gun crime was non-existent in Tobago. We don't know about gun crime. We did not know about gun crime. Now, that's all you hear about. Shooting, drive-by, murders by gun. That is what Tobago is turning into. And we are still at a place where we can arrest this thing. We can arrest this thing. But we have to decide. We have to make some serious decisions. We have to wake up and make some serious decisions. Because as I say, not costing $1 billion to fix this project. It's like costing $1 billion. Our young people have been crying out. They have been crying out. And most oftentimes when things happen, it's because they have been left with little choice. Because we, the adults, we have turned our ears away from their cries. We fix with self. We fix with family. We fix with friends. We fix with finances. Young people, them only good for a vote. But them know about life yet. Let them vote for we. You give them a little 10 days. Them have to hold that. And they watch these politicians get rich overnight. They watch these politicians build and buy their big houses. They watch these politicians drive their expensive vehicles on the back of their vote, on the back of their support, on the back of young people being used to galvanize them into office. And when they get into office, they don't see them again. Casper, the friendly ghost. They disappear. That's what we have done to them. We have made them sick of us. They don't want to hear no adults. They don't want to hear no politician. They don't want to hear nobody involved in politics. You know why? We have made them sick of us. You know who they trust? The people like that young man in that community who grew up with them, who they see every day, who has bought books for some of them, who has adopted most of them as his own, who has taken care of them because he has showed up every single day, every moment for them. They can trust him because they can time him by their watches. That's who they trust. They can't trust a politician that they see once every 5 years or once every month, or that does only show up when they're awake and christening and wedding in the community and they're not doing nothing. They can't trust us if we do that. If you know you're not in this to represent people, bow out. Do not get involved. Because this representation comes with a social contract. A social contract. That is what it is. You are making a social contract with the lives of all of your constituents, because your constituents have different needs. Some may need nothing from you except that if they call your phone, you answer and give them a listening ear. They don't want nothing other than to be able to reach you. There are some constituents, all they need is to physically see you. They don't need nothing else. They just need to know you're around somewhere. And that there are others who need you. They need your time, they need your talent, they need your skills, and most of all, they need your commitment. Representation is about commitment. It's not a commitment to your pocket, it's not a commitment to your party, it's a commitment to your people. Because your people must always come first. What you're there for if it is not for the people. We had to wake up. Are the people who have presented themselves to be representatives, are they committed to their people? That's the question you have to start to ask. Judge them by their works. I say that all the time. Are they committed? Not showing up when it is convenient to show up, and showing up with cameras to take a picture as evidence that they show up. If you were showing up all the time, you wouldn't need a camera. You know why? Everybody will know that you were there. Everybody will know that you were there. For far too long, we have been making promises. Not we, they, because I haven't had the opportunity to go there. And my party fighting for the chance to represent. They have been making promises over and over and over again, and breaking these promises to young people across this island and across this nation. And our young people, they are intelligent, they are bright, and they are smart. And trust me, those three words mean three different things. Our young people are intelligent, they're bright, and they're smart. And if you live Tobago, you know exactly what I mean by that. So if our young people are so intelligent, they are so bright, and they're smart, you cannot lie to them. You can't. So don't lie to them. It's people like that young man that I met in Golden Lane who deserve the opportunity to serve because they have been serving. It's people like that young man that we need in all of our communities who will ensure that they stand in the gap for young people everywhere across Tobago, day in, day out, 24/7, 365. Because these are the young men, these are the young people who ensure that our communities, that the young people in our communities do not fall through the cracks completely. They know that they can't save everybody, but they try to save as many as they can. And all these young people need, because they're already doing the work, they're already doing the thing that has been placed on their life to do. They are already performing the service. They're already fulfilling God's mission. They need representatives to support them, to support their efforts, to support their work, to show up for them. Because most oftentimes, these young men and young women who stand in the gap for others, they have no support themselves. They need propping up. They need hands to hold them up. Because they see some stories, they see some horror stories. They face it every day. They are on the front lines. Politicians not on the front lines. They are on the front lines in our communities. And we have to ensure that we create an environment that makes their work easier, that makes their job easier. Yeah? That is what we have to do. The role of government is to facilitate development in communities and empower our people to making their lives better. That's the role of government in a nutshell. I speak about that young man because I heard so much passion in his voice. But I also heard little shades of defeat, because it is his hope that I will be different, because he has met with every single politician that sits in the chairs that they sit in for today, and promises were made to him on behalf of those young people in that community, and those promises were broken. Each and every time those promises were broken. That is why I made my promise to him in my personal capacity. Because I will not tell that young man, if I win, I will help you. I will not tell him that. You know why I wouldn't tell him that? Because it means that me assisting him hinges on a victory. Hinges on me going in a position. No. I see that he needs help. I have talent, I have skills, and I have a couple of people that I can call, and I have a platform here. And I think we in Tobago can get together and help this young man, help this community. And that have nothing to do with politics, but everything to do with people. Everything to do with people. I want all you to understand that, because Tobago has to wake up to the realization that nobody is going to save us. We have to save ourselves. That is the reality. We have to save ourselves on this island. It's all well and good to talk about the lofty items, to talk about autonomy, to talk about an increased budgetary allocation, to talk about all of these things that we want to get. But the reality is, down in our communities, in the belly, in the heart of our communities in Tobago, there are young men and young women who simply need a pallet of bricks and a few bags of cement to start to be able to make a difference in the lives of all the young people in the community. And I'm saying that that takes nothing for us to get together as a Tobago community and do. It takes nothing for us. Because the amount of young people that Pan Theatre has saved from a life of crime, we could never repay that young man for his sacrifice. The amount of young people who now have a family because of that Pan Theatre, we could never write a check for that to that young man for his service to this Tobago. And he will not get an award. He will not get recognition. He will not get acclaim because he's not a member of a political party. In fact, he wants to remain neutral because he don't want that if he choose one side and the next side go in, that the next side spite him because of his choice. And spite him and by extension spite young people. That is his fear. That he's seeing politics played out in this Tobago. That people don't put aside the party card after the politics done enough. They're spiting whole people in whole communities and preventing whole groups of young people from benefiting from state resources because of one man's choice. One man. And he doesn't want to put that on those young people. He may have his own personal political views. He may want to join a political organization for several reasons, but he can't and he chooses not to because he recognizes that our society is not yet mature enough to separate a man from his work and his politics, his personal political choice. We don't do that. We tell ourselves that if you is PNM and we is PDP, that you must hate we. Or we is PDP and you is PNM, we must hate all you. And we have cultivated an atmosphere of animosity in Tobago. And you know why? Because it has been meted out to us. We have seen live examples of people being victimized because of their personal political choice. It has nothing to do with whether or not they have been performing their job. And in most cases, they have been performing their jobs. But because when that bell, that end of day bell ring, and a man is off the clock, and as soon as he come off the clock, he put on a PDP jersey, and he stand up in a meeting, and he ring a bell, and he blow a horn, the next morning is pressure. The next morning is pressure for him. He coming to work religiously now. He's performing his duty religiously, you know. But because he decided to publicly exercise his personal democratic right to choose to associate with a political party, he is the worst thing out. Get rid of him. Stress him out. Make him sick. Move him. Use him. Abuse him. That's what they've been doing. So that young men like that young man, as long as he's involved in that social enterprise of saving young lives, he can't join a political party. He can't. We've created an environment where that young man is afraid to even ask certain entities for help. Because you know what would be told to him? Oh, you went to this one. Why they don't help you? Because they will assume that because he was looking for help for some young people, he's politically aligned. He has to be so careful about his associations and what those associations might put in the minds of others who have access to state resources. Because if state resources were being used in an equitable manner, he should have never have to worry about that, because his toilet would have been built for the content. It would have been fully finished. It would have had its windows and its doors. It would have been set up so that the people, the young people in the community would have this facility that they could be proud of. But we put politics in everything. And we playing politics with young people's lives. That is what we have been doing, playing politics with the lives of young people. And that has got to stop, because we will continue to lose our young people to the external forces that exist if we don't recognize where the real fight taking place. The real fight is not a political fight. It's a fight for their very lives and their very souls. You can only do so much, and if you've done everything you can for someone and they're still lost, fine. You know in your mind you've done everything. But politicians go in power. They fool our young people. They don't do nothing for them. And when bad things happen, they show up in funerals to express condolences. They send out press releases talking about the crime situation. But what have you done, Mr. Politician? What have you done? Have you walked around your community? Have you seen your young men participating in illegal activity of varying kinds? What have you done in your position as an elected politician with access to state resources to get these young men away from illegal activity and have them gainfully employed? Idle hands. Idle hands. You are seeing the idle hands in your community, but you know what you do? You get them at 10 days. You buy them a bottle of punch-in. You're cooking pork and dumpling on the corner, and you're telling them to vote. You're sending transportation for them on election day. You're telling them to vote. But when the election bell finish ring and all the posters come down and there are no more paid political ads on TV, what these young men have to look forward to for your representation, for your vote. You don't buy the vote already, so you done with them. You buy the vote, so you don't even have respect for them. You buy the vote, you buy the finger, so you don't get what you want. The transaction in your mind is complete. You don't owe them nothing, and you go live your high politician life. And these young men have to go hustle and make a life by any means necessary. And when something happens to one of them, you show up in a funeral, you pay for 2 tents, you probably buy a wreath, and you express condolences to a mother who now no longer has a child. When you were in a position to prevent that situation from happening, what did you do? What did you do? It's okay to put on a fancy suit and talk about lofty items in a ribbon cutting. That them thing okay. But we're losing with young people. So if it is we opening buildings, but young people can't use the buildings, what we doing? The building's not finished, what we doing? Programs can't go there, what we doing? That the length and breadth of what we see our young people is worth is 10 days. I stood in Buku last week talking to some young men playing wapi. And you know what they tell me? They came into the area en masse and said they had jobs for them, and the young people run and went because it's jobs they're looking for. And when they went, they were told that the quote-unquote jobs is CPEP and URP, 10 days on, 10 days off. And the young people say they cuss them and run them. They would rather be unemployed than disrespected. And you know what that said to me? That my young people are now realizing their worth. They would rather be unemployed than disrespected. And I don't want all to take that in the wrong way. Our young people deserve more. They deserve more. They have been cultured to think that they are not worth a lot. But they form the bulk of our productive society. If it's anybody who have to build this new Tobago that I talk about and Mr. Duke talks about and the party envisions, is these young people, because they're young and they're strong. They have the legs. They have health and strength on their side. Who all can build nothing. Who young, too young to build anything is these young people. And you are not coming to them and saying to them, look, I want to invest in you. I want to invest in this community. I want us to build this place because I recognize that you guys have so much worth and so much untapped potential. So let us help you realize your potential. That is not the conversations they're having with them. They're not even having a conversation. Come for 10 days. That's what we've been telling our young people. Come for a morning walk. But let me hold it over your head. Let me threaten you with it. Let me victimize you with it. Because it's I gear the work. That somebody in a particular place could stand up and say URP is a PNM political tool. That is what they could say. State resources, URP is a state program. But you're so sure of your power, you're so sure of what you hold over people's heads, you can't say that it belongs to your political party. I'm saying that there's a time for everything under the sun. And I think the sun is fast setting on that type of culture in this Tobago here. Because our young people are not willing to accept that tripe anymore. They're not willing to accept it anymore. Our young people deserve real opportunities to grow and prosper. And if we are not talking about creating real and sustainable opportunities for our young people to prosper, we are not having a conversation with them at all. And we know they deserve better. What you sow is what you reap. If you bring a young person to their knees, take away all their options, stifle their growth, what do you expect that young person to do? There's an African proverb about that child burning down the village just to feel its warmth. If he doesn't feel what warmth is, he doesn't know what love is, he will destroy his village. He will burn down his village to feel warmth. And our young people, we have left them with no other choice than to burn down our villages because they don't know what the warmth of our loving Tobago society feels like. Let's see if the lines are working today. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning. Outcome. God, I had the mic off. We still have the opportunity to orchestrate a different outcome. That our young people, they are the key to our elevation as society, or they are the key to our destruction. That is what is it. That is where we are at. That is the reality that we have to wake up to. Our young people are not a pawn to be used only when it's convenient to us, only at election time. To use them. Get them excited, rile them up, motorcade, flag, whatever, music, rum, woman, roti. Get them excited, get them to vote. And then after they done vote, we discard them like yesterday's garbage. Our young population, our young people, they are the key to our elevation as a society, or they are the key to our destruction. Let me play that song for you guys because we under some pressure here. Yeah?
People them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. Pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. What's in you can say my we savior. I hear my people crying, I hear my people dying, Jeremy again. What's in you feel to baby? How that get him feel? Pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. We and them applying more pressure. We getting it from every corner. Pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. We and them applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. I hear my people balling out. Everybody suffering. We and them don't know what they're about. The people only crying. We and them only playing. Can't believe in what they saying. Because it's evil things and what them doing. And have the people them a ball. And every day me hear pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. The people them applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. Them a ball out pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. You hear me? Me see them from a distance. How them say them want them country run. Filling the gas and oil and them give Tobago none. But yet the youth said gun. We shoot them brother down. And if them continue, the youth them a go turn. What's up? Sit up on them tune and him now watch the heathen them from far. Now call on him like that, me now go point new finger. You all know who you are. You all know who you are. What you fighting this war for? Pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. Pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. What's in you can say my we savior. I hear my people crying, I hear my people dying,
Guys, that song does something to me every time I hear it. Don't mind it's a political song. I want you to feel the words of the singer. We under pressure. We under pressure, people. Why should it take an opposition voice to tell you that you under pressure? Some of you are of the opinion that the person who is sent to save you should come right on your doorstep to save you. It don't always work so, you know. Because sometimes all God sends you is the signal that you have to get yourself up, that you have to get yourself ready, that you have to do something, physically do something to get to that place, to meet the person that is sent to save you. That you have to do something, that you have to make an effort. Tobago, that electorate, that part of you that is undecided because you want to see somebody show up by your doorstep. Salvation sometimes don't reach on your doorstep. Salvation sometimes does not reach on your doorstep. Sometimes all you get is the signal. All sometimes you get is the signal. Imagine that you are in flood waters and you are floating, waiting for rescue, and the place is dark. And all you see afar is a beacon, a flare. You know that flare signals that help is over there. But in order to get the help, you had to swim. You had to swim. And if you don't swim, you will die. Are you telling me that you are going to stay where you're at? You're seeing the help over there, no? You're seeing that beacon, you're seeing that flare, you're seeing that indication, that signal from God that help is over there. And all it requires you to do, all it requires is that effort, that push, that dig deep, that thing that takes you over to the other side, that thing that you hold on to barely enough to survive, to get to the help. You are telling me that you would stay there and you would drown because the help didn't come right by you? That's what you're telling me, Tobago? You can't be telling me that we under too much pressure. God is sending you a signal that your help is here. That's what God is telling us in this time, that your help is here. And I don't like to get on into the politics part of it, because again, politics is rum and woman and roti. Representation we're talking about. I just talk about representation. Because the people that get the representatives, the type of representatives that they want and deserve. Don't ever forget that. If you want a slacker, you will elect a slacker. If you want a poser, you will elect a poser. If you want somebody who does nothing at all, all they do is sleep in whatever house they occupy, you will get that. But if you want a worker, because you doesn't know how a worker does look, you doesn't know how workers sound, you doesn't know how they does talk, you doesn't know what they does do. When you want to elect a worker, you doesn't know. I'm saying to you, Tobago, for those of you who still on the fence, your help has come. Your help has come, but your help lies over yonder. You have to get up and decide if you want the help. You're standing where you're standing, under pressure. You're swimming where you're swimming. You're treading water right where you are at for the longest while. Because boats have been passing here now. Boats passing here. They're not even paying you no mind. They didn't come here to save you. They come here to take a ride in the boat. You drowning. But your beacon of hope lay over yonder. Right there, you could see it. You could see it. Are you telling me you're going to stay where you're at, treading water, barely surviving, because you can't muster up the strength and the courage to swim and save yourself, to go to the help? That is what you're telling. Are you telling me that, Tobago? I don't want to believe that is what I'm hearing from some people. That's what I don't want to believe. Because God helps those who help themselves. Like Bible. That is Bible. So people who are saying, oh, I ain't see she yet, oh, I ain't seen my MP, oh, I ain't seen my representative, oh, I ain't seen this one and that one and that one. What did you do? Did you avail yourselves of them? Did you swim and meet them? Did you use all avenues that you had to get through to them? If they fail you when you do that, fine. You have all right to bash. You have all right to cuss. I don't have a problem with that. But if you didn't get up and do anything yourself, that you feel that the government owe you something, that everybody must reach right by your doorstep to assist you, that is one mindset that we had to break in this place. We had to wake up. We have to wake up. We have to wake up. A government could only do so much. But if your mindset is not the right kind of mindset, then regardless of how much money our government spend on you, there will be no return on investment. If you don't have the right mindset, if your mind is not the fertile soil within which something could be planted and grow and add value to a place or a space, then that is a poor investment. And nobody wants to invest in something that will bring no returns. That is what I'm saying. And Tobago, the soil is ripe here. I want to invest in Tobago. We who live here should be investing in Tobago. Are we ready? We have to change the mindset. We have to wake up and change our mindset. You have to decide whether or not you want to save yourself. Do we want to save ourselves in this space? Because help lies over yonder. We have evidence of that. We have proof of that. Are you willing to get up from your space, dig deep, find the courage, find the legs, find the last bit of strength that you can muster to get to the help that you need? Are you willing to do that, Tobago? This is where this fight is taking place, this is where this election is taking place. Politicians are going to come to your doorstep with food cards and rum. But the food card will finish. The rum go done. That's not the kind of help you need. You need something more than that. You need something more sustainable and long-term than that. And that help lies over yonder. You've seen it. You know what it looks like. But you have to decide if you're going to let the rum and the food card pass you straight. And you're going to summon that courage. You're going to dig deep and you're going to go for the help. Save yourself and save your family. Because if you stay there with that rum and that food card, you will stay drowning. You will stay drowning. Because your hope will be that the food can and the rum will keep coming. And it would not happen like that. It will stop at some point in time. And you will still be in the same position that they met you. You will stay in the same position. Every 4 years when they come, if they meet you with your hand out for a food card and some rum, 5 years later, if you don't get up and swim and look for help, they will come back 5 years later and meet you with your hand out for the food card and the rum still. Is that what we want for ourselves, Tobago? Is that what we want? I don't think that is what we want. Because I know that is not what we deserve. And I don't think deep down in our hearts that is what we want. Because Tobagonians are made up of stern, proud stuff. That we have been lulled into a false sense of security. Yes. And we have some blame personally to take for that because we have not held the politicians accountable. But we done drunk in already. The rains done come down. The flood done pass. We drowning in the water now. You're willing to stand up? You're willing to do what is necessary to save yourself? That is what we need to wake up to, that reality. That we, the people, we, us, this generation of disruptors, we are the ones. We have to save ourselves. Politics is just but one vehicle. Representation is but one vehicle. But there are many other vehicles that we could use to save ourselves. I'm coming back to that example of that young man in that community. Sometimes all it takes is looking out for a young person. Just looking out for them. Right? Looking out for them. Checking up on their welfare, checking up on their well-being. Investing time into ensuring that they can that they have a mentor or they have a friend or they have somebody to look to who is invested in them becoming their best selves. We have to start to look out for one another again. That's where we have to get back to. We have to start looking out for one another in this Tobago space again. Because if we don't do that, Dog eat with supper, as the old people just say. Dog eat with supper. DJ, I see you come back here. I want you to run that garden night from the top for me. I want all you to meditate on this song. If you want, you can ignore the references to the election parts of the song. But I want you to just listen to Garden Knight's voice. I want you to listen because he put his emotion into these words. I want you to listen to the guitar riffs in the background by Kashif Wilson. Talented young Tobago men who have done positive things with their life and who are influencing other young people to get involved in music. We can all do so many things in our space if we simply just decide to contribute. If every Tobagonian, wherever you are, Tobago, Trinidad, outside, if each Tobagonian decides, I want to give back to my island, I want to contribute to making the life of one young person better. Even if it is to send a phone call of an encouragement, send a message, check up on them, ask them if they need any assistance with the goals they want to achieve in life. You might be able to do a lot of things, but simply being present sometimes is enough to pull somebody back from the brink. We need to start showing up for one another in a very big way. We have to stop just showing up for weddings and funeral and christening. We need to show up for each other in this Tobago in a very big way. We had to wake up because the storms will come. They're right on our doorstep. There are natural disasters unfolding. There are economic disasters on the horizon. There are social disasters brewing in our communities. The storms are there. The storms are there. But the only way that we will weather those storms as a people together is if we start showing up for one another. This election season is soon to be over. In 5 days, it will be murder, she wrote. At 6 p.m. on election day, I am putting up one status on Facebook. It is finished. It is finished. God's will be done. It is finished. And I'm going to take off my phone and take a nap until later in the night. In 5 days, I hang up my PDP jersey. Because whatever the outcome is, I'm going back into my communities to show up for my people. That is what I plan to do. That is my plan. The very next day after I sleep. One day to sleep. From the 12th of August, I intend to show up for my people. I intend to show up for my people. Because I cannot get into this and tell myself if the result doesn't go the way that I want, that I done. It don't work so. Because if you're in it for the right reasons, you could never done. Then have no done there. If you're in it truly for the love of the people, there's no turning back. You press forward. You will have your forum. You will have your platform. You could still advocate. You could still use your voice. And you could still do. You do not need political office to transform communities. You don't need political office to help people. You don't need political office to help galvanize people together in their spaces to get things done. You don't need that. All those things are nice. But you need a genuine love for your people. It starts with that. A genuine love. Because that most times is the only thing that sees you through. Because if you don't love people, you can never last long in this kind of work. If you don't love people. Examine the horns. All kind of goat and sheep coming in front of you, examine the horns. Do they truly love people? If you don't love people, left this work alone. This work not for you. This work is not for people to just sing nice on stage and dress up and look good. This work is for people who love people, who will show up all the time, every time, consistently, because that is what our young people have not been seeing. Consistent representation. That when they call on you, you show up. And not just show up, you respond. And not just respond, but you respond positively and favorably. That is what they lack. They don't know what I look like. That when representatives of old had far less money, they had far less access to resources than people who are there now have. But they were moving mountains in their communities. Those stalwarts, they were moving mountains in their communities. But people who come in now, them newcomers, who have all the access to the resources, have all the access to the state resources, and they're doing nothing with it. Making excuses. That is all they're doing. Making excuses. DJ, I want you to run that garden night for me, please. Thank you, thank you. I just need to listen to that song just one more time. Let me meditate on what we're going through, but also let's meditate on where we want to get to. Because help lies over yonder. Your help has come. But God is asking you to make yourself ready to be helped. God is asking you to help yourself first, to dig deep and find the strength, to get those sea legs, to tread water, but to every stroke, you're moving forward because you're heading towards your help, because God is your strength and your salvation. That's the help. He has come. He has come. When he can't come, he does send a man or a woman. And he sent a man and a woman in this case. The help is right there. But are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to save yourself in order to save yourself? Because it starts with you. We can't pick up everybody. We can't pick up everybody. So who could swim, swim. And who can't swim, we could try to save you. But if you know you could swim, swim. Start swimming. DJ, ready for me?
Yeah. Jeremy again. What's in you feel to baby? How that get him feel? Pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. We and them applying more pressure. We getting it from every corner. Them a ball out pressure. We and them applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we save ya. I hear my people balling out. Everybody suffering. We and them don't know what they're about. The people only crying. We and them only playing. Can't believe in what they saying. Because it's evil things and what them doing. And have the people them a ball. And every day me hear pressure. The people them a ball on pressure. The people them applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we save ya. Pressure. The people them a ball on pressure. The people them a ball on pressure. But what's in you can say my we save ya. Me see them from a distance, how them say them want them country run. Filling the gas and oil, and them give Tobago none. But yet the youth said gun, fish shoot them brother down. And if them continue, the youth them a go turn. Watch them sit up and them tune and him now watch the heathen them from far. Now call on him like that, man, I go point new finger. You all know who you are, you all know who you are. What you fighting this war for? Pressure, the people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we save ya. Pressure, the people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. What's in you can say my we save ya. I hear my people crying I hear my people dying, oh. Jeremy again. What's in you feel from every corner. Pressure, the people them a ball out pressure. We and them applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we say. I hear my people balling out. Everybody suffering. We and them don't know what they're about. The people only crying. We and them only playing. Can't believe in what they saying. Because it's evil things and what them doing. And have the people them a ball. And every day me hear pressure. The people them a ball on pressure. The people them applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. Pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. You hear me, me see them from a distance, how them say them want them country run. Filling the gas and oil, and them give Tobago run. But yet the youth said gun, we shoot them brother down. And if them continue, the youth them a go turn. What's up, sit up on them tune and him now watch the heathen them from far. Now call on him like that, man, I go point you finger. You all know who you are, you all know who you are. What you fighting this war for? Pressure, the people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. Pressure, the people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. What's in you can say my we savior. I hear my people crying I hear my people dying.
That song just sums up how it feels to be a young person in this time, to be a Tobagonian in this time. It feels like we just constantly under pressure. You go in the supermarket, prices raise again, pressure. One gas station closed down in Tobago. To line up for gas right now, pressure. Pressure. To go to Trinidad to get business done. Pressure. Can't get ticket boat, can't get ticket plane, pressure. To go in the hospital right now, pressure. That I have people reaching out to me. That people can't get surgery scheduled. The health, they're under pressure with the health. That Tobago has qualified doctors with no tools to work, pressure again. Every day is pressure. When are we going to be able to breathe in this Tobago? All I need to wake up. We exist in a pressure cooker. Everywhere we turn in Tobago is pressure. Paradise could be a pretty prison, no. We under pressure. And some people not feeling the heat. So they could never identify with what the average man is going through because them not under pressure. They're not under pressure. Imagine that in this day and age, that this is something that hurts me to know. That we have equipment in a hospital that ain't even 10 years old. And that equipment stays down for weeks and months on end. And the people of Tobago who pay taxes just like any other citizen in Trinidad, they don't have the use of that equipment in the one hospital we have in Tobago. But somebody who living in Port of Spain, if equipment down in Port of Spain, he could go Mount Hope. And if he don't want to go Mount Hope, he could go Arima. And if he don't want to go Arima, he could go San Fernando. But a man in Tobago, he don't have a next option. Pressure. That is what we're living under, pressure. You know why I need my people to stay the course in this time? Those of you who are drowning, I need you to find your strength. You need to find your legs. You know why I need my people to stay the course in this time? Because we have a healthcare system where we don't get no justice when our people suffer and die as a result of negligence. You all remember the story of Mr. Shepherd and his wife, 2015, I think, I could be corrected, where Mr. Shepherd lost his wife and his newborn child. And the TRHA accepted responsibility, liability in the deaths of this woman and this newborn child. And the report was supposed to be made public. To this day, it was never made public, along with tons of other reports that have been commissioned. Never made public. And we think a paycheck is going to appease a man after he lost his wife and his child. And we in Tobago, he got that because he took them to court. What about the rest of us, a number of us who have lost loved ones to that broken healthcare system? That broken healthcare system. And we have no redress. We have no redress. We can't pay a lawyer. We can't sue them. We only suspect negligence. So we just have to grieve. How many of us are grieving? How many of us know of someone who did not get adequate health care in time to be able to save their life? All because our systems are broken and they don't work in the way that they should. We under pressure right through. We appointed a committee to look at that $50 change fee that Cal instituted on the domestic air bridge. That committee was appointed, 2 years ago? They were supposed to give a report. They were supposed to report back to Tobago people about an oppressive change fee. Oppressive. Because when Cal not operating up to standard, when I can sit in a waiting room, I done checking already, I check in my bag, I was there on time and my flight is cancelled on me while I sitting in a waiting room. It happened to me many times, so I talk in that thing. That happened to me. Me not talk what people say, me I talk what me know. That I can sit in a waiting room and have my flight cancelled or delayed on me. Colin even giving me a glass of water. But if I show up 1 minute late for check-in for my flight, I have to pay $50. I have to pay $50. And if I want to travel earlier, if there is space, me ain't talking about no sold out trips. I'm talking about if I have a flight for 5 o'clock in the evening and I get to the airport at 1:30 and I want to go at 1:30 and there's an empty plane, an almost empty plane leaving at 1:30, that I still have to pay to change my ticket, even though the plane empty. That oppressive $50 fee that was more of a penalty for Tobagonians who use the air bridge as a matter of urgency. Because that is how we travel between the islands, and most Tobagonians who travel between the islands are traveling for medical purposes, business purposes, educational purposes. That is what we use that air bridge and that sea bridge for. Yes, some of us are leisure travelers, but the majority of us is because we have to go to Trinidad for something. We commissioned a committee in Tobago to look at that. Where the committee report is, we're still paying the $50 to this day. Pressure right through. Tobago, we under pressure. I don't know if people feel it, if we understand it. I spoke about that frog in boiling water yesterday, the water boiling Tobago. The water is boiling on us. Are we going to get up? Are we going to take stock of our surroundings and recognize that the temperature is rising? And are we going to pick ourselves up and do what is necessary to get ourselves out of that water by any means necessary? We willing to do that? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing in this time, in this election season, where you as a taxpayer, you as a citizen of this country have the opportunity to install a government of your choosing based on the persons who have presented themselves, who are applying for the job, the position of representative, after you have vetted the applications? Are you willing to put aside party and put the best person to do the job? Are you going to see your help over yonder? And are you going to find the strength to get to that help that you know is going to save you? Are we going to do that, Tobago? Are we doing that? Are we doing that for our people? Are we doing that in our communities? We need to wake up. We need to wake up, because an aware population, an awake population, an awake Tobagonian population, an aware Tobago population is a population that cannot be mistreated, cannot be bought, cannot be sold, and will not allow any political party or any governing structure to disrespect them, to disregard their wishes, and to keep them oppressed. For far too long, we have allowed political parties and governance structures that are designed to oppress us, because 39 in math will always be more than 2. Remember that. We can only stand side by side when 2 equals 39. That's what we're aiming for. But an aware population, an awake population, would never allow any political party to disrespect them, disregard their wishes. We will not allow that, because we know where the fight taking place. We mining with business. We talking the things. And after we talk the things, because when you talk the things, people gain knowledge. Sometimes they just don't know. Ignorance is darkness too. Ignorance is a form of slumber too. So when we mind with business and we talk the things, it's time to wake up. And after we wake up, it's time to fight the power. Yeah? Everything that I've said to you during the course of these programs on a morning, you think those names were chosen by chance? They weren't. They weren't. They weren't chosen by chance. We had to mind with business first. When we mind with business, because we recognize there's business to be minded, we talk the things, we have the conversations, the good ones and the not so good ones, the easy ones and the hard ones. And after we share the knowledge, after we wake up from the slumber of ignorance, we wake up. We wake up. After we wake up, we could do 2 things. We transform the place, and we fight the power that kept us ignorant. We didn't choose these names by chance. God put this into the spirit of the person who set up this platform. This wasn't just to have catchy phrases for every day. No. Tobagonians, this is the process. This is the process by which we help ourselves. Let me repeat it for those of you who didn't hear it. We mind with business first, because we recognize that there's some kind of business to mind. Whether it be your business, your children business, your family business, your neighbor business, somebody business, Tobago business. Tobago business, ultimate. That's the ultimate business, because we live in here. We are the ones that inhabit 116 square miles. Each of we need to be minding Tobago business. So we start off by minding with business. And then after we mind with business, we talk the things, because things need to be talked. Because some of us exist in ignorance, and ignorance is a form of slumber. Ignorance is a form of darkness. So we talk the things, we have the conversations. We pull in, we family, we children, we nene, we granny, we sisters, we brothers, we neighbors. Pull in everybody and we have the conversations that need to take place. We talk the things. So we mind with business first and then we talk the things. And after we lift that veil of ignorance through education, we are awake. We have been awoken from our slumber, from that slumber of ignorance, from that darkness of ignorance. The light come on. We turn on the light switch. We wake up. The sun come up. We wake up. The sun is out. Time to work. We wake up. So when the sun come up, we turn on the light switch. We are no longer ignorant. We are educated. We are aware. We are awake and aware. It's time to transform the place. Yeah? It's time to get together in our groups wherever we are. We form coalitions of the competent and the willing to transform the space. We transform our minds, because transformation is not just an external process. Transformation is also an internal process, because when you become awake, when you are awoken from your slumber of ignorance, transformation has to take place inside. You can no longer allow yourself to go back to that sleeping state, to that ignorant state, to that uneducated state. You're awake now, so you have to transform internally and externally. So you have to do the work inside. We have to transform. We have to change the mindset. We have to emerge as leaders in our own right, because you first start leading yourself. Not everybody may be able to lead people, but everybody is a leader because you lead yourself. You make decisions for yourself. You are a leader. You lead yourself. Those of you who lead families, who are parents, who are older siblings, and you have younger siblings looking up to you. Those of you who are persons in communities like that young man I described. People look to you for leadership, because you can lead yourself, and because you can lead yourself, you can lead people. You transform internally. You go through that internal transformation. You change your heart, change your mindset. You decide to do better and be better. That's the transformation that needs to take place in Tobago, that change in mindset. You transform, and we get together in our spaces wherever we are. We transform the place. We transform the place, because the people are now transformed. We can now do the work. We now have the mindset. We now have that positive push. We now have that strength. We now have that motivation. We are now inspired. We are now changed for the better. So we transform the place. And the process of transforming the place, because transformation is an ongoing process. Change is a constant. What will work for us in this generation right now in 2020 may not work for another generation coming in 2050 or 2100. Well, not 2100, 2100. Right? 100 years from now, what worked for us today may not work for our generations. So change is a constant process. Transformation is ongoing, because the thing that we hold sacred today may be useless tomorrow. The thing that we have to use to get where we have to get to today may not have relevance tomorrow. But as long as we are consistently transforming internally and externally, adapting, evolving, we will fight any power that will stop our growth. We will fight anybody that wants to take us back to a place of darkness. We will fight anybody that wants to take us back to a place of bondage. We will fight anybody who wants to take us back to a place of ignorance. We will do that. We will do that, because we know we will know where we came from. We will never forget. We will never allow our children to forget. And we will pass down our history to our generations so that they will never forget where we came from, so that they will never make decisions to take us right back there. 2020 is that pivotal, critical year. We are at the junction. We are at a juncture of change and transformation in this community, in this island, in this Tobago, in this nation. That is where we are at. And because we know that is where we are at, we had a mind with business. Don't be afraid to talk the things. And after we talk the things, we had to wake up. And now we're awake. It's time to work. It's time to transform the place. Transform our minds and our hearts and our spaces. Transform our people, our families, our communities. Child by child. Village by village. And then after we transform the place, and while we are still transforming the place, we fight anything and anybody who try to take us back to that place of darkness and that place of ignorance. That is my message to you this morning. The complete message of why I've been placed here, to do this in this time for my people, to use my voice in this time for my people. That I am doing what God has purposed for me to do in this life. And even if I have helped one person, I have achieved that mission. If I have turned around one heart, I have achieved the mission. If my words have hit home for one body, I have achieved the mission. So guys, I have come to the end of Wake Up Wednesdays. And I hope you're properly awake by now. It is 9:01 on Wednesday, 5th of August, 2020. 5 days away from Decision 2020, 5 days away from whether you choose transformation and progress or whether you choose stagnancy and stasis. Because you know what they give. You know what they give. They can't promise you nothing they didn't promise you before. They give you stagnancy and stasis. Are you going to choose the chance for progress and transformation? The choice is yours, Tobago. The choice is yours. And come what may, August 10th, we all have to live with the consequences of the decisions that we make that day. And I hope that we are prepared to do so. I hope that we are all prepared to do so. Because we have more than enough evidence in the atmosphere, in the space, of what they are capable of. And what we are capable of and are yet to show you. Are you going to continue to choose stagnancy and stasis? Or are you going to choose the chance for progress? The choice is ultimately yours. My name is Tashia Grace Boris, Progressive Democratic Patriots candidate for Tobago West. And today, I am going to be present at a handing over ceremony at 10 a.m. So I think that's going to come over live. You'll see what that is about. I don't want to preempt that event, but it's going to be very, very symbolic. Later on, the PDP Spartans caravan will be rolling into the districts of Bonaccord, Mount Pleasant, Lowlands, and Susulands this evening. Our big meeting is going to be taking place in the car park in Buku. Tonight, you will hear myself and Mr. Farley, I think, and Mr. Duke certainly. We're going to be in the West today. We're going to bring the might of the Spartan army down in the West. So look out for us in the communities of Susulands, Mount Pleasant, Lowlands, and ultimately Buku for our big meeting tonight. Ensure that you guys who are attending our meetings, that you try as best as possible to come in your vehicles. The car park in Buku is set up in such a way that you could come and park and listen to the meeting. We want to be able to observe the COVID regulations and the guidelines that have been put in place. Walk with your masks. We have to enforce the social distancing, or else they will shut down our meetings. We don't want that to happen. We want to be able to follow the law. This is the time. Even with all this pressure we under, Tobago can't even say that we're going to restrict our travel between our islands to only essential personnel. That we have a so-called second wave of COVID taking place in Trinidad, and right now I am not certain if any protocols are in place to ensure that that spread does not end up in Tobago. Where are our decision makers? Where are they? You know where they are? They can't make the decision for us because we don't have our powers to do so. Critical things such as this, our ability to be able to close our own borders, to inter-island travel, to be able to protect our citizens from COVID, a second wave of COVID that is taking place in Trinidad. We in Tobago are like sitting ducks. I want to wake up and understand where the game taking place. We can't even say in Tobago, because the port in Tobago is not run by nobody in Tobago. Is a management in Trinidad and a board in Trinidad that makes that decision on advice from a government and a minister in Trinidad. You think the chief secretary could call anybody, any minister, and tell them that we want to restrict travel between the islands, that we want to only ensure that essential personnel, that people are only traveling for essential business in this time, that we have to enact protocols to ensure that persons are screened before they travel? We can't even say that. The chief secretary have to wait on the minister of health, who then have to wait on the minister of works and transport to make that decision. Then they have to wait on the port authority and the airport authority board to put things in place. And then you have to wait for them to do their work. Our chief can't even shoot a phone call. And even then, if he had the power, he wouldn't have had to call anybody. Not so. If the THA had its power, the chief could simply stand up and say, we are locking down Tobago. We do not want COVID in Tobago. We will enforce our regulations here as best as we could, and we are limiting travel between the islands to only essential personnel, that we are putting our systems in place to ensure that persons are properly screened. He had to wait on somebody in Trinidad to do that. I want to know, Tobago, if all you wake up and realize what's taking place in our space. That we have a false sense of security. There's an illusion that exists about our responsibility for our own jurisdiction. Tobago is an island surrounded by water. We are an island. We are a country in our own right. And Tobago has its own borders. Wake up and understand that. And if it's necessary for us to do something in the best interest of 60,000 inhabitants on an island, shouldn't we have the power to do so? I leave that thought with you. Shouldn't we, in Tobago, the persons who occupy the highest offices in our land, shouldn't they have the power to be able to say, we are protecting our people? Today was Wake Up Wednesdays, people. My name is Tashia Grace Boris, PDP candidate for Tobago West. For those of you who are out this evening in Buku, Susolans, Mount Pleasant, Lowlands, I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to converse with you. I can't wait to press flesh with you. I like that phrase, press flesh with you. You know, I'll have hand sanitizer with me so that after we shake hands, we could sanitize our hands. We could sanitize before and after if you wish, you know. But we want to observe the COVID guidelines as best as we could in the absence sense of us being able to protect our, external environment. The most that we can do is see about ourselves. The most that we can do is be responsible. Walk with your mask. Make sure that when we go to the meeting in Buku, that you try to move with your transportation, that you can stay in your cars, you can watch the meeting. I will be there. Mr. Farley should be there. Mr. Duke will be there. And some other speakers will be there. And we are coming to you to tell you our plans for Tobago and our plans to transform this space. We need to wake up, but we need to also accept our role in ensuring that that kind of development can take place, that we can truly get together and transform our island. The work is plenty, but once we get the work done, we can all reap the benefits of that hard work. But this is the time to choose. This is the time to choose wisely. August 10th, you have the opportunity to put workers to represent you rather than persons who are going there for show. You have the opportunity to put people who love this island as your chief representatives, as your chief advocates. That is your opportunity. But whatever the outcome, doesn't matter. We still will continue to work for you. We will still be in our communities because we want to get this Tobago going. By the hook or by the crook, it will get going. Politics or not, we will get going. People or not, we will get going. Resources or not, we will get going. Because sometimes you just have to start where you're at and put one foot in front of the other. And that is when you will start the journey to progress. My name is Tasha Grace Burns. Blessings to all of you. Have a safe and wonderful and productive day. Tomorrow, I'm hoping to have Farley Chavez Augustine on for Transformation Thursdays. He's going to talk about the plans of the PDP. He's going to talk about what we want to do to be able to transform Tobago. And you're welcome to send him your comments when you're here so that he can read out some of the ideas that you may have in your space that you think that you can transform your communities as well. He is our Chief Secretary candidate-elect, so I think that he's the best person to be able to explain those plans and enunciate those plans. And obviously, yes, I will play Garden Night again before I go. I can't leave without playing that song again. Yes, we under pressure, but while we under pressure, we still have God, we still living, we still have good weather, we still could eat, we still have a roof over our heads. Things not perfect, but we still have life. And as long as you have life and as long as you have love, you always have the chance for a better and brighter tomorrow. So certainly, yes, we under pressure, but we could take a dance and a chip while we under pressure. We don't have to be stiff. That Garden Night gives you, it's a song about pressure, but it does make you want to dance, and that is the reality. We still need to find the blessing. We still have to look for the silver lining in the dark clouds sometimes, and that's the only thing that keeps you going forward. So today I want you to be blessed. I want you to be good. I want you to be productive. I want you to have a great day. Be protected. Be good. And I'll see you guys on Friday by God's Spare Life. Thank you for tuning in this morning, and take care. I'll see you again.
The people only crying, we and them only playing. Can't believe in what they saying, because it's evil things and what them doing. And have the people them a ball, and every day me hear pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. The PM them applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. Them a ball out pressure. The people them a ball out pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. You hear me? Me see them from a distance, how them say them want them country run. Filling the gas and oil, and them give Tobago none. But yet the youth said gun, we shoot them brother down. And if them continue, the youth them a go done. Watch them sit up and them tune and do not watch the heathen them from far. Now call on him like that, me now go point you finger. You all know who you are, you all know who you are. What you fighting this war for? Pressure, the people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. But what's in you can say my we savior. Pressure, the people them a ball out pressure. The government applying more pressure. What's in you can say my we savior. I hear my people crying, I hear my people dying, everybody suffering.
Oh, what love
for the people, do